So we're told to open a new workbook, which I have open in front of me. Now I do recommend that you read all of the scenario in the textbook before proceeding with this exercise. And the first thing it asks us to do is rename the file. So I'm just going to save a copy and put my initials on the end. Okay, so we have been given a partially filled in invoice. The net sale column and the gross sales column are missing at the moment, and what we need to do is to be able to pull through the unit price from the price list. Here we have our price list using the item number as the unique lookup value. So if we look at our invoices here, there's our item number, and we're going to use that for the lookup of we're going to use that for our vertical lookup. So I'm going to use the function builder here. So vertical lookup, where the lookup value will be the item number. The table array is on the other sheet, and just remember to make your table array absolute. The column index number, if we just take ourselves back, is 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth one along, but we don't want the sheet price list, we just want the number 4, and then false. Now what that's done is that's brought along the unit price for us, but this is the net sale. We need to multiply it by the quantity. So what we could do is we could put all of our VLOOKUP, and then we just say multiplied by the quantity sold. It doesn't, there we go, I just forgot one set of brackets there, and now it's happy. Or we could have put C7 at the start, it doesn't make any difference. And then just remember to fill that down to all the other rows. There's quite a few. If I do end down arrow, you can see we're down at 394, and then end up arrow takes us back to the top. And then our gross sales, we need to multiply that by the value that we've got here for VAT. So it's going to be equal to the net sale, so and then plus the net sale times 20% absolute, because it's only in one cell. And there we go, there we've got our gross sales, and I'm just double clicking because I know that will have filled it all the way down to the end. So double clicking, as long as there's no gaps in your data, so as long as there's no blank rows, that will fill all the way down to the bottom. We then have to check for and remove any duplicates. Use conditional formatting to highlight duplicate invoice numbers. So let's just, there's my invoice numbers. Conditional formatting, highlight duplicates. See if there are any. Yeah, there's quite a few. Fine. And then it says remove the duplicate, so I need to go to my data ribbon for that, and my remove duplicates button. And I'll unselect all options and say I only want to remove based on the invoice number. So I click that, and it tells me that I had 4 duplicates, so I'll click OK. And then it says if there were any duplicates, enter the number found in I2. So there's I2, and we found 4 duplicates. I'm just going to put that number in there, and then format the sales columns, both of them, to 2 decimal places. So end shift down arrow, and here I'm just going to go to 2 decimal places under my number expansion button. There we go. Perfect. So that's that one done. So on to D. Insert a pivot chart and pivot table into a new worksheet for the net sales in each of the 3 months from January to March through the Amazon channel. So insert pivot table, new worksheet. Okay, has it got the right range? I think it has. Let me just do that again. I'm going to put my cursor in my data table. Here we go. Yeah, it will have picked up the range. New worksheet. Fabulous. And they want net sales. Let's put the net sales down into our values. In each of the 3 months from January to March. So let's use when as our. So that's the total, but right now that's the total for everything. So if we make channel our master filter up here, and then we'll we'll filter it so that we're only seeing Amazon. There we go, Amazon only. That's the figures that I end up with for Amazon. And then we also need a chart, so I'm going to stick my cursor in my pivot table there, and then from the Analyze ribbon click on Pivot Chart, and there it is. It doesn't stipulate whether it's got to be a column or bar, so I'm going with column. So now I need to format the chart series to show the best sales for the period in black and the worst in red. So the best is clearly January. We'll just click away and click once. You'll see that one click on the bars makes them all highlighted, but a second click on the one that you want deselects the others, and that allows you to format just that one, which means that I can just right mouse click and choose a fill color here of what was the best was black. So I'll fill that, and then I'll repeat that again. So February is clearly the worst. So again, I want to fill with red. I need to change the title to Amazon sales and enter. And enlarge the chart so the whole legend is clearly seen. Well, it is, but I'll make it bigger if they want me to. And then produce a trend line, making it dashed and color it red. Right, trend line. So I'm on the design ribbon, go to add chart element, trend lines. I'll go for linear. Does it say linear? No, it doesn't. Right, I'll go for the most basic one then, and it asks it for it to be dashed, which it is, and color it red. So how do I format that? Let's have a look. So I'll go back to trend line and go down to more options. That's the basic trend line. So if I go to the bucket, that's normally color related. There we go. Have I got a choice? It is dash type, dashed, isn't it? Ah, here we go. That's a bit more dashed. I like that better. Rename this worksheet Amazon Sales. Now on to part E. Use your pivot table to determine the total sales for each month through the channels. Copy the values of these into the relevant cells in your worksheet forecast. So if I'm going to look at all sales, then I need to change my filter back to all. Ooh, that's had a pretty hairy outcome here. So we've got, these are my alls for the month. Now if I take a look at the sheet forecast, I can see I've already got some information in there, so I believe they just want the values for January, February and March copied across. Let me just do that. So those, copy, and I'm not going to try and be any more clever than to paste the values in there. And now I've got to use the forecast function to work out what April, May and June could potentially be. So now all we need to do is use our forecast function. Now we already have an established series, and we already have an established set of data based on that series. So in the forecast function, let's use the format builder to see if that helps us at all. Okay, so our X in this case is going to be the next month that we want to predict for, forecast in other words. Our known Y's is the data that we already know, so they're the ones we're basing our forecast on, and we don't ever want those to change row on row, so we're going to make those absolute. And our known X's is the series we're establishing here, 1, 2, 3. Again, make those oh, what happened there? Do that again. So our known Y's is our data, make that absolute, and our known X's is the series we've already established, and also make that absolute as well. OK that, and then we can just fill that down, and then we've got our forecast for the coming month. So if I just double click on the last one, it should be working on this value here and then the original data table, which is exactly what we've got there. I just have to be a little bit careful. It does remind me that I need to change this back to Amazon only. Otherwise we had got too much going on because we changed it here for the forecast exercise. So good, I'm back to where I was. Now it says for part F, return to the invoices worksheet and filter the whole table by net sales to show the bottom 10 net sales. Right, let's have a think how we do that. So back to invoices, we are going to probably, let's turn home ribbon. I'm going to turn on the filter. Let's have a think. So F says return to the invoices worksheet and filter the whole table by net sales to show the bottom 10 net sales. Now for some reason this hasn't been included in the answers, so I'm just going to give it my best guess as to what they mean here. So return to insert, right, okay, so net sales, I've turned the filter on. So what I did is I highlighted across the totals and then I went to sort and filter and I turned on the filter here. Let's just make that a little bit wider. Then what I did is this is my best guess as to what they mean. So the bottom 10, so I take that to mean the lowest 10 net sales. So I'm going to tick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these should be all of the sales that have got those values. There will be duplicates that have the same amount. So insert a subtotal formula in the net sales column to work out the average of the bottom 10 sales. So the subtotal formula is really, really useful if you haven't come across it before. And if you want a total from a filtered list, sum won't react to a filter, but subtotal will. So the subtotal formula, you type in subtotal, then it's got all these different functions that it could perform. So for example, if I wanted to now add all of these together, I would put the number 9 and that would do a sum for me. In this example, we're being asked to work out the average of the bottom 10 sales. So to me, the average, where are we? Oh, it's number 1. So I would type number 1, comma, and then I would tell it the range that I'm working. In fact, let me just escape that. You know, I'm going to take my filter off. I'm going to clear my filter because I want to get my range right. So let me just end down arrow. I'll put my, right, let me put average. I wanted to make sure I picked up all the values, so I wanted to see them first. So my average is going to be subtotal 1, so that it does the average function. Then there's my values, all of them. So at the moment it's great because the subtotal function will work filtered or unfiltered. So at the moment I've got this average, but as soon as I apply a filter, it's only going to average the items that show once the filters have been applied. The next one it wants me to do is insert a formula to count how many items. So let's use subtotal again, count. Okay, so subtotal. Now this time I want the count function, which is number 2. And exactly the same range as before. I'm going to do, I'm going to drag it, it's easier. There we go, and close brackets. So I've got 384 items that had the bottom 10 values. Oh no, that's all at the moment, isn't it? So now if I just for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to quickly split my screen so that you can, if I now go to the top and apply my filter, you can see what's happening down the bottom here. So what were we doing? It was bottom 10 net sales. So let's do that. So let's deselect everything and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and see what's happened. So I've got 45 items, and the average of those, I think I'm going to make that a little bit more manageable. 2 decimal places. Yeah, so that's how it works. So, you know, subtotal is fantastic when you're using a filtered list. And then finally it says format this column as currency. Can do. And use the filters to show how many of the bottom 10 sales were to Bob's Music Shop. So if I now filter by channel and go to Bob's Music Shop, so there we go. I've got my split on, which is why it looks a bit odd. There we go. So the average, well, it's changed now. Well, doesn't really count now, does it? But however, I think use the filters to show how many of the bottom 10 sales were to Bob's Music Shop. Well, the answer was, oh, that's not going to be currency, is it? 4. Hope you found that helpful.